Hi there, welcome back to my channel. It's James here. I hope you're doing okay. So we're in for another completely groundbreaking video today. We're going to talk about some of my anthurium that I'm really enjoying currently. Literally just going to go through the nine anthurium that I'm really enjoying at the moment. I was actually going through my anthurium the other day, kind of shuffling stuff around, because I'm actually going to be replacing this smaller grow tent with a slightly large one. Not quite as big as this, but like just a little bit off. And I want to make it a little bit of a cooler, dimmer tent. So I was looking at my anthurium because I know that some of those will prefer the slightly cooler conditions as opposed to the like sweltering conditions that are in that larger tent. So all of that to say that my anthurium collection is a little bit smaller than I thought it was, and partly that has to do with the fact that I've cut up a lot of them recently. I've got a lot of like chunks of anthurium rooting in sphagnum, which are actually some of my favorite plants. I can't show them to you because they're just chunks of stem. So I'm going to show you some of the plants that I'm enjoying that are sort of something to talk about. So it's not going to be super long. I'm just going to show you the anthurium. I have them all here. I'll talk about them very briefly, give you sort of my experience with them, basic care stuff, why I'm treating them how I am currently, and then we can move swiftly on because I know you have many other things to do with your day. So we're going to start with the small one. This is actually one I'm really proud of because it's one of the Anthurium crystallinum that I grew from seed last year. And they struggled for quite a long time, partially because I didn't give them the space they needed fast enough. I've understood since that they actually grow quite fast. If you give them the space, they will take that space. So I kept these limited in like a very small jar because I was waiting them to get bigger faster, if that makes sense. But they didn't have the space to get bigger in that small container. So here we are. These probably should be significantly larger after almost a year of growth. However, they're not. And I'm super happy with where they are at because some of the leaves are starting to get like really beautiful crystallinum characteristics through. Some of that like silvery lining to the leaves. This leaf is a little bit, I don't care, that's okay, it's an older one. And the ones that came through, I think that was, I spoke about this in another video, that was one of the leaves I think that suffered a little bit when I transferred the seedlings into pon, because I put a few of them into pon and they're doing really well. But I really like the new leaf. I don't know if it's going to focus because it seems like it has not been enjoying that recently, but it's very velvety, very like glittery. The silver veining is starting to appear through the center. I'm super excited to see what these do. So yeah, that's just like a start. I have quite a lot of these growing at the moment. I have also some, I showed in a recent video as well, some Forgetii X crystallinum, which are doing really well. So hopefully within a few months, I will have some slightly larger seedlings to talk about. Plant number 2, we're kind of still going through some slightly smaller plants. This one is sort of, I don't know. This is an Anthurium regale. I think regale is what I've been told to say it like. It's quite small, as you can see. There are definitely like more spectacular specimens, but I'm really happy with this because I got this as a plant. I think it had a leaf more or less this size, and it was not doing very much. Partially, it was before I got my grow tent, so the conditions weren't perfect for it. They were good enough, I think, but the growth was very slow. But it had a really long stem, so I cut it up into 4 pieces, I think, and rooted them. And this is the only one I have left because I've traded the other ones away. But I'm really happy with it. It's got a new leaf coming through here, which is quite round and pretty. It's definitely not fully hardened at all. Although it's been quite slow, so it might just be a slightly smaller leaf in the end anyway. But it's really pretty. At this juvenile stage, they're a little bit difficult. I think they're different enough that you can tell, but they're very similar to like a majestic, for example. Not majestic, a magnificum at this point. So maybe it would be a little bit difficult to tell them apart. But when they're more mature, very easy to tell them apart. The shape, the veining, even the texture of the leaves. It's really, my magnificum is in this tent. You won't see it today. It's beautiful, really beautiful, but just really unwieldy and difficult to move around. So I'm leaving it in there. But the texture of the leaves is very different. This is kind of like chunkier and more velvety. And the magnificum, I think I cruelly called it crystallinum's ugly sister at some point in the past, but not ugly, just less spectacular. Moving on, we're gonna go, so we've got this one is one that I'm really excited about. This is a no ID anthurium. I've spoken about this one before. It's very cool. Like the leaves are super limey compared to all of the other anthurium I have. They're very light green, really glittery. I think this is the most glittery anthurium I have. It's very difficult to get it across on camera, but literally if I'm moving this, it looks like the leaf is made up of little fragments of glitter. It's really pretty. tiny bit of damage in that leaf, but that's just because, I don't know, it grew into something. It's really lovely. It's got very nice red cataphyll in there. Super healthy. I got this one from Aroids Apartment, and always her plants are just fantastic. It's such a shame that it's harder with Brexit. I think she is going to be shipping with phytosanitary certificates, so if you are an Aroids Apartment fan, hopefully all is not lost. Have a quick look at some more of the pon spearments. So that first little crystallinum that I showed you was grown in pon. These next two plants are also going to be pon potted, are also going to be in pon. So this one is this has been quite a difficult plant for me, to be honest. It's just about getting there in that it's produced 2 leaves back to back that have not died off. This is my Anthurium Warocqueanum crossed with Waterburyanum, and I got it last year from, I presume originally it was from Ecuagenera, but I got it via a seller in Poland. And it is very, very beautiful. It's not really mature enough for the characteristics of either to be super, super present, but I think that it looks significantly darker than a Waterburyanum, and I can see a fair bit of Warrock in there, I think. Very, very pretty. Like I said, it's got a new leaf literally just about to come out here, so I'm hoping it's really nice and big and beautiful. I will show it to you on my Instagram or something when that comes out, because I hope it will be impressive. But this is one that seems to be really enjoying pon. I have found that of all the plants that I've been experimenting with pon with, Anthurium and Hoya are the ones that appreciate it the most. I think it's just the airiness, the space, I don't know, the ratio of water to air. Really, really likes it. I haven't had any rotting issues at all with anything, really. A tiny bit with philodendrons, but none at all with Anthurium. So yeah, this is really, really good. I'm not a huge fan of these pots. I think they're kind of ugly. I mean, they are ugly, I think. But I wanted to try them out for the self-watering purposes. And it's very helpful. Like, I am able to kind of ignore these and just keep them growing for much longer than I can with my other plants, the ones that are in sphagnum, the ones that are in aroid mixes, etc. So in that sense, it's very good. My second pon plant is the first plant of 3 today that I'm going to show you that I got from Foliage Fanatic, which is a shop in the UK. A really, really good shop run by a guy called Zahir, and super sweet. I'll talk about him later when we get to one of the other plants. This is a very difficult plant. I have a couple of these. Most of the others are wet sticks at the moment, which is why they're not part of this. This is an Anthurium papillilaminum hybrid. Who knows? This is one of the plants that's come from Indonesia. The IDing from particularly Anthurium coming from Indonesia is a little bit dodgy, like who knows what they are. So I got this as originally an Anthurium papillilaminum hybrid, something else. I can't remember exactly what it was supposed to be, but it might have been a dark mama, I can't remember. But it is certainly not. It's one of these like complex hybrids, unknown hybrids of just a bunch of different plants that comes out with some really, really beautiful plants, but they have there's no real way of IDing them. This is spectacular. I don't really know if that comes across, but it's like iridescent. The front of it's like got blue and red iridescence over the leaf. It's really, really pretty. The veining isn't super, super impressive yet, but I'm hoping that it will become more pronounced as we develop. But I'm just so excited to see what this does. I have it growing in very, very dark conditions at the moment. It's kind of at the top of this grow tent, above the light. So the only light that all of these Anthurium are getting actually is kind of reflected light, and they seem to really, really like it. They're growing actively anyway, so it must be enough for now anyway. And it means that these really, really beautiful colors come through. Love it. So yeah, just be a little bit aware that the ideas that you're given might not be the actual plants that you're getting. Particularly if the characteristics of the plant you're looking for are very, very clear, and the plant that you're being sold under that name does not have all of those characteristics. Just ask where it came from, and ask how the seller knows that this plant is the plant that they're selling it as, if that makes sense, because plants like Dark Mama and Ace of Spades that are actually those plants, they have, you can track them back to the nurseries that they originated from. So it should be relatively easy to find out, if you dig a little bit, to find out whether the plant you have is actually the one that you think it is. Hopefully that makes sense. To me, it's not like specifically about the species with Anthurium. I think that it's very, very difficult to be certain of what you're getting. So I just look for like a plant, foliage, anything that looks beautiful to me, and then you get that. That to me is enough. So those are the two pond spearmints. Like I said, they're doing super, super well. I will update you on the new leaves. I wouldn't say they're doing better than the plants that are not in pond, but I would say that the maintenance is far lower. So I have to look after my other plants, particularly like the ones that are in sphagnum like this. In the grow tent, that dries out within 3 or 4 days, I would say. So I have to be quite on top of the watering. Whereas that pond, I can leave it in the grow tent for 2-3 weeks and not worry about it. So we're kind of drawing to a close here. I've got 4 more plants. I've got 4 more plants to talk about, so we're just gonna go through them quickly. This one doesn't look very impressive at the moment. It kind of looks gangly and sad. This is an Anthurium peltigerum, that I got from our department, again, a little while ago now. It's got these really interesting leathery leaves that have the closed sinus at the top, very similar to the Forgetii. There's not very pronounced veining, but there's something super, super interesting about them. They can get very large. This plant has not had the conditions until very recently for that to happen, sadly. I think I mentioned a little while ago that I have not been neglecting my Anthurium, but up until about 3 months ago, I was kind of just letting them grow where I left them, admiring them every now and again, but they weren't like a huge priority in my collection. I think it's totally normal for that to happen. Last time I said that on a video, someone was furious at me, but I think that's totally normal. So I'm giving them a lot more care at the moment, and as you can see, there's a new leaf coming through here, so I'm hoping for a little bit more size on that. And just a happier plant, because it's so beautiful. If you have a little look on Instagram or Google at the name, there's beautiful, beautiful leaves. Have a check. Check it out. This is Anthurium peltigerum. Really, really pretty. I mean, it's gorgeous like that, isn't it? Small little teardrop leaves. Great. Okay, now we get to the special ones. Now, this plant has been like my pride and joy for just so long. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It may be my favorite Anthurium, just not... It needs some water, actually. The leaves are getting a little bit flimsy. Yeah, it's super thirsty, this plant. It may be my favorite Anthurium. You can see it. I'm just like holding it out here for like surprise. It's so easy, so beautiful, does not care. I can ignore it. I can let it get to the point of like, I'll just show you because I'm talking about it off camera. This is my Anthurium pallidiflorum, and oh, it is just magical. Look at the side. This is the newest leaf. It is so beautiful. As you can see, it's kind of a little bit floppy. Normally they're very, very rigid, so I could like lift up the center part of this leaf and it would stay more, well, it kind of does anyway, but stay more or less straight, lifting it out, which is really nice. But the velvet on the leaves is just amazing. And like I said, it's such an easy Anthurium. It reminds me care-wise of like a Clarinervium. I think I could grow this out of the grow tent and it wouldn't care. That said, the extra humidity and light has made it like put out this really, really beautiful leaf, which is really dark and textured and just, If you have a pallidiflorum and you're a little bit disappointed with it because it's small, just give it time, because they grow quickly. I mean, these ones are beautiful as well. I will give this a proper water and it will like really, really plump up. I should have done that before the video, but I didn't realize that it was at that point again. So yeah, we'll get a nice drink after this. I also love the stem, just the way it like curls down. These pendant anthuriums, they basically just want to grow downward. Like however you pot them up, they're just going to curl down and grow down. Anthurium pallidiflorum, spectacular plant. All of the pendant anthuriums are amazing. Speaking of pendant anthurium, another one may become my favorite. Currently it's a little bit wobbly. It's had some moments where I've thought, is it okay? It seems to be okay. It's actually in pon, so I should have mentioned it before, but I didn't. I don't know why I put this in pon. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, and I don't think it was the right move. So at some point I will be propagating it and growing it back in just moss and arid mix, which is what I do for most of my Anthurium. Look how like, I don't know what's happening to it. I think it's just not getting... Something is not quite right. It's in the grow tent. Maybe it's a little bit too hot for it. I don't know. I'd have to... I thought they were quite hot growing. Sorry, I haven't even told you what it is. This is an Anthurium WENDLINGERII. I thought they were quite hot growers, but it might be a little bit too warm for it. Or it might not be getting enough light, because it kind of does look like it's searching, and it's in quite a... It's not at the very top like the other ones, but it's definitely not getting bright light. So I might play around with that. Yeah, so this is Anthurium WENDLINGERII. It was one that I just wanted for such a long time. It has that really, really beautiful corkscrew inflorescence. You've probably seen it if you're at all into Anthurium. And the hardened leaves are really like rigid, as you can see, and like dark and gorgeous. The veining is very subtle. The shape of the leaf is like an extended oval. It's really nice. And they just get beautiful. And as they get more mature, they get like a rippled texture, quite similar to the Pallidiflorum that you just saw. And I love it. Not easy to find at the moment. Crazy expensive, like so expensive. I saw, I think they were being sold for like £800 or £900. I got this one again from Foliage Fanatic, the same guy I got that Anthurium I spoke about before, and it was pretty cheap compared to those prices. So I'm very, very happy with it. And it's grown very well. Like I said, I'll probably cut it and prop it because the stem is very nice and long with a lot of aerial roots, and I would like to see how it does in moss as opposed to this crazy pond moment. A final plant for today and a spectacular new addition to the collection. Again from Foliage Fanatic. I literally got this plant yesterday, so it's looking really nice. Hopefully I don't kill it. This is an Anthurium luxurians, which is just such a pretty plant. This is quite a pretty popular plant at the moment. The price is not low for this one, but it, in my opinion, is worth it. This is a really interesting specimen. I've not seen one. I think it's partially to do with maturity because it is quite a small plant, but I've not really seen one with leaves this elongated, and the morphology does seem to vary quite a lot. You see really, really chunky leaves, you see really slender leaves, you see leaves with like massive high lobes. So it might just be the way that this plant is growing, this specific clone, but we will find out as it grows. I'm kind of imagining that as it matures, the leaves will broaden and become the typical luxurians shape. I mainly got this to try and hybridize with because I have a lot of seedlings. I would like to grow some more seedlings. I'd like to be able to share them around, potentially sell some in the future. So I think the characteristics of luxurians are just so special and so beautiful. And if I could add them into, if I could cross them with some of the plants that I currently have, that would be amazing. I've saved quite a lot of pollen. It would be so fun to experiment with some inflorescences from this. I can't imagine that'll happen for a little while, but who knows. So yeah, this is the last one from Foliage Fanatic. Again, such a nice guy. If you are looking for one of these plants or any of the plants, especially the ones supplied by Equigenera generally, he's got a lot of them at the moment, so have a look. Yeah, last one for today. That is it for today. Just a little look through some of the Anthurium that I love especially a lot at the moment, because obviously I love them all. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what your current favorite Anthurium are. Let me know what's on your wish list, because I'm always looking to add some more. I've got my eye on a few with crazy price tags, so we'll see when that happens. And yeah, if you want to see more of this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, like if you want to check out my Instagram at slugplants if you want to see updates on all of these plants, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.